It's the best of 5 finals. We're moving on to Golden Aura. In the bottom right, we do have MaxPax. And at the top left, it is Lambo. Lambo's last Open Cup appearance. Oh, actually, I shouldn't say that confidently, but I think it's been a while. I stopped casting these for a little bit, but generally, when I did look, it was, mostly Clem and MaxPax getting through. Not terribly surprising. And I will go ahead and assume that actually has been the case. I was trying to look for it, especially because we don't have anything interesting happening. We want to go for our regular hatch timing, and I'm actually looking at my display, my preview. And a totally normal gateway expand. Got it. Nailed it. Alright, so this is this is 228. There's been so many. My god. And last time it was Clem. Before that it was MaxPax, although Lambo did make it to the round of 4. The time before that it was Clem MaxPax. Yeah, let's just say it's been a while for Lambo. Maybe he got one when I wasn't casting, but it's not the first time Lambo's been in the finals, but compared to MaxPax, it might as well be. I don't know, it's like a 1 to 20 finals appearance, I guess. For every 20 MaxPax has been in, Lambo's been in 1. So, we do favor MaxPax. If it's not Clem's Open Cup at this point, it is MaxPax's Open Cup. No one else really gets to put their name on it as a title, although some have tried. Like, I think Rainer would have expected more finals victories, but actually stopped short quite a few times. Lambo was stalled out from getting his natural, or he presumed he would be either way. So that's the only slightly different opener in this ZVP. It is, I see a Zerg player get deep into the European Open Cup, because it is so often a Terran and a Protoss meeting in the finals, and then fairly often just being the matchup of the semifinals as well, or the mirror matchup leading to the TVP. It's like so often what it is. Zerg's just a rare breed, man, and it is because some of them just don't sign up, like Cyril. Rainer is also inconsistent. Someone was playing random, only for like a month, I feel like, was he actually playing, hardcore Zerg. And then, Laser stopped signing up as much, and then Lambo, I think, also stopped signing up for a little bit, but, glad to see him back in action. And looking pretty good to get to the finals, but has his ZVP been tested? Not as much, since MaxPax is considered one of the best, but still worth seeing if he faced anyone. It'd be kind of scary. No, he had his Mindle VK into Wayne and then Solar. Actually, he took away some of the other Zergs, so Solar signed up, which would have been usually a really good Zerg that you could see winning this tournament. And then Wayne also has been doing fairly well. He is one of the more consistent players to continue signing up. He just doesn't make it as far. So we got 2 Adepts finally causing something to talk about. They are going to go fairly deep, make sure nothing suspicious is happening, but of course the Shade's on the way back, so. Not going to find any drones. 3 Lings did go down, and the Adepts will completely flee, by the looks of things, very standard back at home for the Protoss. Oracle number 1. It's coming out now. I am more curious as to what Lambo is doing, not just because MaxPax opened up with an Oracle. MaxPax could still be the one that dictates the pace of this game, or even this series. He chooses to, do a variety of builds, right? And there's a lot of things you can do still off of the triple Oracle, 3rd Nexus. And I think I've gone over them multiple times, but the reason I'm looking more towards Lambo is that I do feel like Lambo, despite being known as an analytical guy, and as such, I feel like that kind of goes hand in hand with macro, right? But I do think of him as a macro guy generally, but I actually feel like every time I cast him in a best of 5 finals, he actually gets very aggressive. Versus Terran, he's gone for these low drone Ling attacks consistently, against Hero Marine and against Clem. Maybe against Spirit, but just I haven't seen it in a while. And then, versus Protoss, there's plenty of mid-game attacks that you can do, especially if you're able to hide them successfully. But 4 drones just went down to the Oracle. 2 Adepts did finally sacrifice themselves for good. I don't know if they supported that Oracle or not, but they tried. And it is triple Oracle. And Twilight Council, Robo, and Forge all slapped down together. It's not going to be any particularly heavy timing off of the third Nexus. So we do have 4 Adepts, but that's not what I'm talking about. But it is kind of 4 Adepts at an awkward time in which Lambo might assume that they're not on the way, and he does not have very many Lings. Only 5 of them, actually, so the 4 Adepts being warped in. We're looking for some creep tumors and an opening if they could find it. If the shade had gone into here, for instance, they would have blocked out the hatchery mining for a while, but probably not overall worth it. Better to stick them along with the oracles, clear up this creep spread, and hope that the Lings get over-eager. And try and surround the Adepts, actually. With the oracles there to help out. So this actually might be a real shade. Yep. Lings were hot in their tail. Down to the natural and third base. Maybe some of them will survive with the second shade, but no drones will fall. Just a little lost mining time. Oracle's still moving around too, though. You can see that he's trying to find some type of opening. Not really going to be effective. And only 1 Adept will survive. Not really. That one will be finally the one to get an Adept. To get a drone, sorry. So that's 6 Adepts killed for 19 Lings and 6 drones. Some lost mining time. I actually don't think it was that bad. In general, you can see in the resources lost. We do have, I think, a slight victory for Lambo. Oh, no. Damn, I overcompensated on the gas. Well, okay, yeah, it literally just adds. Yeah, so if you think of gas as being the rare commodity, I mean, actually, I feel like that's not so bad for Lambo at all. Resources lost is a little... I mean, it's a good measuring stick, but in this case, I don't know. Anyways, moving on. 3 Nexus, 6 gases, Templar archives with charge lots. The charge lots actually, I think they went back a little bit to try and hide themselves for a hot second, maybe. But now they've revealed themselves. Just because if there's literally only a sentry and like a zealot, that doesn't 100% tell you if that's charge lot Archon or not. There could be stalkers about to be warped in, or hidden like the zealots were. But clearly that was revealed. Now, Lambo knows about it, but is he already prepared for the Archons, which were forming on the other side of the map underneath the Warp Prism? MaxPax off of 3 bases with Charge Lot Archon, hoping to find Lambo in this situation, unprepared. Banelings do finish up, but the Zealots are pulled back behind the Archons, which just soaked up every single one. And that Archon is still kind of healthy, honestly. Hiders are on the way out now, but if they're all by their lonesome, they will not hold up against the Charge Lots. I think this is going to be it, actually. Lambo, completely unprepared. You know, he's trying to get that scouting on the third base, but then apparently did not see that warp prism. I mean, I didn't see it, but by the way it looked when it was warping in, it was slightly out of creep range vision. And then the Lings weren't darting around that attack path. They were darting around the third base. So, you know, letting 3 Archons, or I think 1 was probably pre-made and then 2 were made, I think something like that. Letting Archons form that close to home, never ideal. We do have a best of 5, so plenty of StarCraft to come. But right now, this guy is up 1. It is MaxPax. And in the top right of Crimson Court, we do have a Lambo. So I was pondering if Lambo was going to be the one to go for a kind of mid-game attack. He was not. He might have been building up to, of course, Ling Baneling Hydra, but very much at the first step of the staircase. Lings were formed to help out with the depths and a little of scouting, but that's kind of what they were there for. Not necessarily because he was reacting to an incoming attack. Then he was trying to produce as much as possible, but last-second Baneling production, last-second Hydra production in the context of MaxPax's attack, which hits pretty ferociously. Again, Warp Prism on the offense, warping in Archons, so the Zealots get scouted, but the attack is basically underway. The Zealots are cheaper, faster, and Archons are unlikely to be taken out instantly anyway. Like, you still don't want them to be able to warp them in. You want to threaten them with a surround with Lings, so they adjust, they move away, they pick up the High Templars and move down to a low ground or whatever it is. Because those extra seconds could mean a lot. In that game, I'm not sure it would have meant enough. Lambo really had very little being produced, but maybe this will change on Crimson Court, which is a shorter map pool. MaxPax could also change things up, obviously. You know, sometimes, most of the time. The non-Zerg is going to be the one that we're looking to set the pace, be really aggressive in the mid-game, open up with a different technology in the early game. Basically, a turtle, I guess, might be an option, but not as often, I suppose. You don't really have a lot of PvZs that, thankfully, you don't have a lot of these, that are literally nothing happens. And the Protoss is clearly going to turtle. But, you know, sometimes we do. But Lambo has taken the middle base. This has a rich Vespian geyser, so it is going to be more enticing, but it's obviously as close to the opponent as you can really get, aside from taking their own third, I guess. And it's a very short map, so I mean, you're really expanding to your opponent. There's like kind of expanding to your opponent, like on a technical level. You know, this triangle third is closer, I guess, but not by very much. This is freaking close. So MaxPax, you know, Protoss kind of obvious thing to do on a shorter map can be to go for Adepts. And we have seen that on some of the other maps like Post-Youth, right? But not going to do it this time around, at least not going to do the just Twilight Council version. Stargate once again. He is scouting. He knows that Lambo has taken the middle base. I don't think it's too uncommon. And the question is, for me, is once again, what is Lambo doing? It wasn't the most urgent question to ask last game. It might not be this game. It loses too many drones. Okay. Two's okay. One Adept barely going to be able to escape, despite, I think, the Queen trying to target fire it. Third hatchery is now finally on the way. And there is that first Oracle about halfway done. 3 Adepts in total. See if MaxPax adds on the additional 4 they did last game, so 2 and 2, I believe, right? Oh, I think we just Twilight Council on the front for a second. It is going to be into Twilight Council pretty fast, off of only this one Oracle. So you don't start up the second Oracle, which takes up literally the resources of a Twilight Council. You obviously are waiting to a third Oracle. I mean, the way that you can choose to play around with that is important to the Protoss build order. Obviously, with this one coming out this fast, with additional gateways, talking about a more offensive opener. You know, compared to last one had all the Oracles, harassment units. It also had all the technology that eventually would be used. Well, this is right into Blink. And so this actually can be a really nice, like, halfway measure, like, in between. It's not going to be as dedicated as an Adept attack, which really, you know, build a lot of Adepts, hope they work out. Maybe follow up with an Immortal, I guess, if that's what your plan was. Obviously not in this game. But Blink Stalkers, although this is a little more dedicated because it is lacking, at the very least, a Forge. You're not even getting +1 started. You have more, I think, possibilities of macro, especially if you can play the game well. And MaxPax can play it well. But specifically this game, the game of Stalker control. So you're not all-inning with your Stalkers. You got a third base on the way. You will probably eventually get those additional technology buildings, but you can control this space with Stalkers. Just because you're constantly there. You're waving your hands in front of their face. Lambo could be doing the same thing if he is going for an attack, and he has stopped building drones at 40, guys. He might have gotten the third hatch, but he absolutely did not add on more drones. Rich Vespian Geyser, mostly what he needs as far as the gas to build these roaches. Lings will be flooding in behind, as they're often, you know, they're the only fast thing here. The roaches do not have speed, but honestly, it's so close to the third base. I mean, the roaches could probably also reinforce. Ravagers on the way, formed in a very nice, safe location. Queens getting a little ahead of themselves, though. You know, the Stalkers, you know, talking about control, if this was a macro Zerg, well, now are going to have to try their best to hold on for dear life. MaxPax with only 1 shield battery did not pick up on what Lambo was doing all that quickly. And that shield battery should be a goner. There it is. Got a second of healing done, and that is it. Queens are starting to fall, however, and the Oracles are waiting for the opportunity to shine, but they do not have much energy. MaxPax with a lot of minerals, not a lot of gas, trying desperately to hold on here. Stalkers and their flexibility, the micro here, working wonders. Shield batteries, which were made in the beginning of the fight, finally finished. They are out of juice, but they were better than nothing. 9 probes have gone down, many Stalkers were injured, but we are almost at that critical mass where the Stalker numbers outweigh the numbers of the Zerg. The Lings are not powerful, not powerful and not in high enough numbers to get that ever-crucial surround. If they had +1 and there was 10 of them instead of 5 of them, they actually are kind of feisty. Especially because the Stalkers are so damn low on health, but they have regained some of their shields. Should be regaining more as the shield batteries get up and running. We're going to have another overcharge as well. And that was incredibly dicey looking. If Lambo had... Well, I don't want to blame Lambo. I mean, I think Lambo's idea is very solid, and it looked like it was going to be too much of a surprise, but MaxPax going for no Forge, and getting that blink basically as soon as possible. That's as soon as you can get it. Real difference makers here, but maybe not going to be enough. Round number 2 comes in here. Lambo bulking everything up once again. Shield body overcharge, this time helping a little bit longer, but also taken down. Soccer number is thinning out. More being reinforced, however, still a decent economy on the side of the Protoss. Stronger than the Zergs, despite the Zergs' intention to all in here. Not a great sign as the Stalkers once again hit that critical mass. Clearly they're going to win out. Lings hardly helping, just being microed against by the Stalkers pretty easily there. Ravagers are also getting low. Corrosive Biles trying to get those Stalkers that have already used their blink is somewhat successful, but it's not going to be enough to win the battle. Corrosive Biles, just from a measly 5 Ravagers, will not make the difference. And that second attack also had a little bit of pepper behind it, but there is just so much consistency from the Protoss. They're still on 55 probes. They still have 8 gateways, so if the warping in is consistent, it's winning this tug of war. As you can see, it is still a struggle. MaxPax got to be careful, losing some units, you know, warping into the Corrosive Biles and all that, but it's just, it's clear who's winning the tug of war, and that is now clear to Lambo. GG. MaxPax with a 2-0. I was very scared for the first wave. I was incredibly scared for the first wave. I thought that there was a chance MaxPax would have been broken, because obviously if you're broken on the base, you start warping in your natural, you got to get out of your own natural. I mean, you basically, once you stop warping in at the third, you're kind of sacrificing the third. If he was going for a robo, that's an extra amount of cash not involved in the 8 Stalker production off the 8 gateways. Ditto on the +1 in the Forge. So MaxPax, I think, got a little fortunate there, going for the build that he was. But then again, when you think of a small map, which we're on again here, Ghost River, you're not only thinking about how you can be aggressive, but of course how your opponent can be aggressive. And sometimes playing... 2 aggressive forces meet each other. It's about who was aggressive a little bit later, who got a little bit more of that foundational macro going. And it was not Lambo, I'll tell you that. Lambo on the ropes now on his last life in the top right of Ghost River. Top left, it is MaxPax. I mentioned Ghost River and talked about the Adepts. It is on the nose, but doesn't mean that it's not good. It's a reason it would be on the nose. Got a short path from your natural to your opponent's bases. It's a little more complicated just because from the ramp, from the choke, you got 2 directions to go to, but it is short. Then you have the Adept Shades, which would have trouble shading into mineral lines, but they could shade around the bases and still try and catch the units out of position, especially if it's like slow roaches. But what we've really been seeing on this map isn't a lean towards Adepts, because they are too obvious, and I think the distance between bases doesn't necessarily favor them. If they can have bases that are set up where every shade ends up in a mineral line, then that's really good, because they're always going to get effective trades, because they're never going to be surrounded. But anyway, what we have been seeing is some more Stalker abuse. So, getting up these ramps, as we see normal openers so far, getting up these ramps is a struggle. But getting down these ramps is also a struggle. And that has been the conundrum of Ghost River in this matchup, is that the Protoss, twice now, maybe a third time, 2 or 3 times now, and I've not cast too many of Ghost River, alright? So 2 or 3 times out of like the 7 PvZs that I've cast. That's the sample size we're talking about. Pylon goes here, maybe a gateway, maybe a warp prism, whatever. The warp in point goes here, and then the Stalkers just continue poking and prodding and pulling back, poking and prodding and pulling back. And the Zergs have a very difficult time dislodging it. They're not necessarily under fire immediately, but they can't dislodge the damn thing. And as soon as I talk about, let's move on from Adepts, of course it is Adepts, great. But seriously, both are options, and both do take advantage of the map. Adepts maybe a little more on the distance, and the Stalkers more so on the terrain features, but still. One Adept's just going to get some scouting done. Lambo should be very, very wary of this. If he already saw the warp gate was coming out first, which he probably did, then he already knows. I'm thinking MaxPax didn't bother actually hiding this, especially because the jig is up once the Oracle doesn't fly over and kill this Overlord, You're like, oh, okay, you didn't get a Stargate. Okay, great. Yeah, so I'm going to assume he did not fake that warp gate timing, but I'm not actually sure. 3 more gateways are on the way. Resident Glaives finally does boot up there. A little delay. They messed up his build order a little bit? Maybe. And maybe it is more important to get those gateways down at that time. Because he's banking a little bit of gas, but he was light on minerals. All right, so gateways first and foremost. Now putting all of his chronos that he can into the Resident Glaives. Robo on the way as well. Lambo should be picking up on the fact that this is not a Stargates. Not a Stargates. And if it's not a Stargate, then what are the other options? Twilight Council and Robo. Robo off of 2 bases, pretty rare. You know, the one build that comes to mind when I think of that is the, like, Colossus or Disruptor drop into push. One Colossus push, which, I don't know, might make a comeback on some of these maps, but I haven't seen it. So besides that, Twilight Council. And what comes out of Twilight Council? Adepts most of the time. There's a chance they're playing sneaky, and their goal is to ultimately hit you with Dark Templars, so you gotta be wary of that. But if they're hitting you hard and fast with nothing but Adepts, you're gonna actually play this very carefully as the Zerg. I think it's a real sore point for the non-professionals, maybe even for the professionals, but this whole balancing act can be extremely difficult. Making sure that you do not get overwhelmed by the Adepts because you waited too long to build an army, but then also making sure that you don't die to the extended game because you spent so much time defending. Now keep in mind, if Lambo does defend this, kind of takes care of it, and MaxPax has to say, okay, you got me, the counterattack will be swift, and there is no freebie defensive unit for the Protoss like a Stargate would provide, a Void Ray. And you're just like, oh yeah, well, hopefully I can hold my Void Ray. There is no unit like that. Maybe an Immortal could be pumped out. So we're going to watch the Adepts and see what they can do first, obviously, but then we're going to be worried about Lambo's potential counterattack. Adept shading forward means that the Roaches have to chase, leaving the Queens a little vulnerable. 2 of them went down. Very little damage on the Warp Prism, actually. A lot of it from the Spore Crawler that was very interestingly placed. I kind of like it. It was almost so off that it caught MaxPax off guard, but it didn't. And this actually looks like it's going to snowball, guys. There are not enough Roaches on that bottom side. Lings are popping out as well, but it's a little sus. Adepts in the main are taken care of, and the shade into the natural will allow Lambo's 2 armies to converge, and when both armies are together, it's totally fine. It was just a little low on the 3rd base for a while, but this is what Lambo, I think, was kind of hoping for. MaxPax almost falling into the trap. Had he not shaded there, he might have been able to evacuate to the south or to the east, I guess, kind of. Just because the units are still slow, no Roach speed, limited number of Lings. And, well, hindsight 2020, I think he would have had to, like, immediately evacuate, you know, taking out some of those Roaches like he did, but then say, okay, I'm overstaying my welcome, leave before the Lings pop type of deal. Yeah, would have been hard to judge that 100% perfectly. But that means the attack is done. The Adepts are donezos, all right? The Warp Prism, thankfully for MaxPax, is alive. That's the extra little threat that is there that Lambo has to consider. If that was gone, I think there's almost no reason for Lambo not to at least intimidate, to send his army as it is across the map and intimidate. But with the Warp Prism, you don't want to let them get an extra 10 drone kills because you're eager to get some counter damage done, and that opens up your drone line. That's worse. So, very important, really, that the Warp Prism is alive. Also, time bought for the Immortals here. We do have a follow-up attack in mind for MaxPax. No Forge, no Robotic Spay, not a lot of emphasis on that probe production. And I guess the Chronos probably went into the Immortals if I had to guess. And that is the follow-up. Lambo, knowing a follow-up could very well be on its way, tried to do the Zerg thing, tried to fit in the drones to make sure he doesn't get exhausted as the game goes on. But the army supply now is the real question. 56 drones, great, but only 45 army supply. Now, army supply of the Protoss, a lot of Adepts, that might not be the best head-up fighters, but not supposed to be. It's all about the Immortals really packing the punch. The Adepts there to body block a lot of the time and threaten, if they need to, a potential run-by. But the Warp Prism's still alive and juggling those Immortals. The Adepts are just the cherry on top. Now they are turning into some fudge, though. I mean, now the Adept number is kind of insane, and the Roach number just is not matching up right now. 22 Adepts, just 7 Roaches. Some more pop out, but Lambo was also a little gas-starved. He's also a little supply blocked, and it is just so difficult to track the Protoss with this build. I mean, I really feel for the Zerg players. I'm glad I don't have to deal with it. But to play this game with the Adept attack into the follow-up attack as cleanly as possible, I think it's extraordinarily difficult. Good save on the Immortal. God, couldn't even let Lambo have that one. Ay, ay, ay. MaxPax with clean sweep. 3-0 Lambo in the finals. And that will be that. The believers in MaxPax, you were quite correct. Exclamation point, safe house in chats. If you're watching this on YouTube, I am hosting a tournament where a bunch of the commentators will be together in-house in Las Vegas. The tournament will be online, but we'll have a lot of fun times. And you can help by going to matchme.com/t/safehouse if you would like to contribute. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.